What if thriving wasn't about getting life perfect?
but learning to find peace and purpose right in the mess.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Tom, and we walked away from the version of life that looked right to build one that feels alive.
We'll talk about the beauty and the struggle, from parenting and marriage to faith, well-being and travel.
This is The Whole of Us.
Welcome back. We have a really interesting topic to talk about today.
Yes, one that causes a tad smidge of controversy.
Just a little, or I think it's probably been one of the biggest controversial things that we've stepped into.
Do you think so?
Well, okay. Look, there's a lot. There's a lot.
It's also something in my wildest dreams I couldn't have imagined we would be doing.
No, it's...
Or like zero desire almost.
Yeah, it's such an interesting topic. Anyway, so today we're talking about...
social media. Oh,
Woo-woo!
I know, before you switch off, this is actually a really, really fun story and I cannot wait to share it.
And I think a really important perspective. The conversations we have with so many people, and whether they know that you've been in social media or not, the undercurrents of judgment and disdain for this thing is wild.
While everyone's consuming it.
And that's it. It's the absolute hypocrisy of so much of what people say, because they're like, oh, it's so bad, but I spend 3 hours on it a day or more.
Yeah, and ironically, I spend less time on it now because I'm creating.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It is. It's been a really... So I thought I want to take you back to the start because it's wild.
So if you found us here on the podcast, this is a newer space for us. You've been in social media now for coming up almost 3 years.
Yeah, two and a half
3 years. Yeah, and it's been a wild journey, starting from really, really small and just consistent to growing to...
Not consistent, rapid growth.
Yeah, rapid growth. Growing to a size which has afforded us incredible opportunities and being able to work with amazing brands and tourism boards and that sort of thing. And I think seeing you grow in this space has been one of the greatest journeys. Yeah.
Well, originally I decided when we left Australia that I wanted to document the entire process. I wanted to be right there as we broke down. I wanted to create such an authentic version of what traveling families were experiencing.
Yeah.
And you could very easily look at the pretty pictures and be like, wow, I wish I had that. And so I really wanted to showcase behind the scene but praise God, we didn't. So I had the name The Whole of Us, which was very fun because it aligned clearly with our values of us being a holistic being, mental, physical,
spiritual,
and emotional health. Yeah. And that's a huge passion of ours. Absolutely. And how we live our life. Yep. So The Whole of Us came about, and then I thought, great, I'm going to buy the GoPro, get the things I need. And then God very clearly told me to put that down. And I was gutted because I thought, what is the point of travel if nobody sees it? And I don't think it was sees it as in like to be famous, or it was more of a consistently documenting our process, maybe even more so just for us, that we would have almost evidence of the life we were living.
I mean, we talked about having a scrapbook record of what we'd done and where we'd gone for the girls to look back on. But it's funny, even in that feels like only a small part of what you're sort of communicating is that...
Yeah, well, I think it was a test. I wanted to create testimony of what the life we were living out. And that was going to be very difficult to explain to anybody what we were doing.
Totally.
So unless I could capture it, which is... It's interesting as well. That's a whole other topic of how isolating and lonely travel can be and how wonderful it's been to do it as a family. But so, yes, I felt to then lay this thing back down. And we had a really good friend who very honestly and bravely said to me, what on earth are you doing? Do not document this thing. And praise God we didn't, because it was messy that first year and not for online consumption.
Yeah, it was we had a process to go through.
A deep, beautiful, messy process that actually set us up for success later on.
Yeah.
So that first year was super messy, but probably about 9 months in, we were in the UK and we had a house sit. It was awesome. We were in the Cotswolds in the UK.
Beautiful spot.
You'd broken your leg, so it was just this
I was laid up at home.
weird place we found ourselves. And I feel like God says, I want you to start your social media now, but it needs to be with a business mindset. So then I did a course about how to grow on Instagram. It was literally like how to use the app, how to create content. What does that even look like? A lot of researching and things like that. So that was really fun. I started being very messy and just set a goal of for 6 months, I'm going to post, I think it was every 5 days a week.
Yep.
Consistently.
Yeah.
No matter how it felt. And it showed me that just starting is the thing.
Totally. And so after 6 months, we hopped on a boat to cross the Atlantic, which is a wild way to cross that ocean. And it was 2 weeks of resetting, and we really felt like it was a shift in season.
Yeah, there was no internet. Alessia got really sick. She had the influenza. We all did.
Got quarantined in our room.
Quarantined in our little windowless cabin for 3 days, which was pretty brutal. But I feel very clearly God say to me, your season is changing.
Yeah.
And I was gutted. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're so good at this trauma falling apart space of processing. And I just knew it was going to change. And so we got to...
Well, I think you'd written in your journal, hadn't you?
I wrote the cruise was 16 days. In 16 days, everything changes.
Yeah.
On the 16th day...
We're in Disneyland because we had 1 day in Florida. And so 1 day in Florida, you got to go and do something fun.
Well, we were at Disney Animal Kingdom. And I remember just sitting there and the sun's hitting me. And we'd done a lot of presence-based work the year prior and a lot of looking for safety cues and like finding gratitude in the moment and noticing things.
Yeah.
I had my phone with me, but we were just... The sun was hitting me and you and the girls were on a ride. It was just a pocket of time that was so beautiful. And my phone starts blowing up. My goal was to hit 1,000 followers before Canada.
And we went to Canada the next day.
Yes. It wasn't so much that I wanted a certain number of followers, but it was to have goals to stretch myself.
Yeah.
So at the time, I think maybe I had like 500 followers, and it was really hard that it was only 6 months probably of building, because you would get 1 follow and then 3 unfollows. And I learnt so much about untethering myself from worth and identity based on likes and follows. I learned a lot about consistency, of showing up constantly, even when I didn't feel like it, being messy and vulnerable, putting stuff out there that was not perfect. And the perfectionist in me, that was so hard to do. Having grace and compassion on myself, being like, we're just going to try it. We're just going to do it. So anyway, I was learning a lot, and
your phone starts going off.
And sitting in Disneyland, I hit 1,000 follows. So the next day we're supposed to get to Canada, and I'm just like, what is going on? The next morning we wake up, the day we fly to Canada, and I hear God say double portions, and I look and it's 2,200 or something. And by the time we got to Canada, it was 80,000 follows, and from then it just continued to grow. And so talking about the journey today, thinking back to what it felt like in the building stage.
Yeah.
What it felt like when something went viral.
And then what we've done from that
Yeah,
point.
what we're up to now.
Yeah. And then I guess from that point, we've been like privileged to work with so many beautiful brands and tourism boards all around the world. And coming back and being at home in this season, you felt a really clear, it's time to put it down for a moment.
I felt like at some point along the way, I'd picked up something that was an act of obedience and a faithful working out of how to do this thing and all the learning and beautiful parts of it. At some point, I had grabbed it with my 2 hands and was determined to do it on my own. I don't think it was even a conscious thing. It was just a subtle thing of starting to look at all the hooks and the analytics. And suddenly my goal became about how to grow engagement and build it. And there's so many accounts out there now showing you how to get a viral reel and grow things. And I lost the creativity, and it felt like a fire was dying, and I was spending all of my effort just blowing on this dying fire. I feel like God says, I want you to lay this thing down now. And I'm thinking, I could do that. No problem. I feel like I prided myself on what I thought was an ability to hold it very separate from who I was and not feel bound by it. Like this was such a gift from God. I could just, if he tells me to drop it, I'll drop it. No problem. Well, no, actually the working out of that was really painful.
Well, the hooks in your brain were actually a lot deeper than...
Felt like there were tentacles wrapped in my brain. And I noticed how much I started comparing myself to other people online, even just in appearance wise, your creativity, your ability to perform, your lack of engagement, because obviously brands work with you if you've got these high engagements, and the con of a viral reel is that you hit this massive peak. You potentially have this influx of followers who may not be the audience you're actually after, and then zero engagement. And so your analytics look terrible. And it felt like God gave me a gift that was actually killing me.
Yeah.
I really wrestled with, why, God, did you do this if I can't, make it into something else? And I mean, obviously we've gotten to work with brands and tourism boards and places like that, like you've said. But for every one brand you work with, there's like 100 rejections. So even that constantly being rejected and putting yourself out there and then being told you're not enough, the account wasn't growing, it was dying. And we'd come back to Australia and I was thinking, I don't know what to do anymore. What is sort of the point to life?
Yeah.
I've felt like the last few months have really taken me on a journey of realization that you never make it. Like, you never reach a certain number of followers and be like, awesome. You work with this brand and which is such a blessing and incredible opportunity, but it's, but all these other people don't want to work with me. You never earn enough from a job. The industry is very difficult because it's not standardized. So everyone's being paid different amounts. Sometimes brands want a ridiculous amount for no money, and it is work. It was holding this nuance of, how do you travel while working, in the sense of, for example, we went to Fiji and we weren't paid to do it, but it was a comp deal. So they paid for everything and I had a job to do. It was very difficult to Fiji, less so actually than other jobs, but it was really hard to be present, actually enjoy it. Would I rather have just earned money a different way and gone on a holiday? Maybe.
Yeah.
I was losing the enjoyment of the creativity and the process that got me to where I was. And it was consuming me.
Yeah. And so it's been really beautiful watching you have a break and a really intentional time of
Well, there was no
resetting.
time limit on the break either.
No.
I grieved it because I thought, put all this work in for the last few years, and now it's just because the second you stop posting on social media, everything starts to die. It works on this continuous roller coaster of movement, and when you stop, you've got nothing left. Sort of, it starts to, or everything declines. And I think it has given me permission to remember where I came from in this space, and remember that the reel that went viral, that brought everybody in and my engagement skyrocket and everything, followed no script. It was terrible, actually.
There was no
audio. There was no formula. It was just, honestly, another day of showing up. And God could do it again. But my goal is not virality. I think the community aspect is what now I would really like to build more, because this is sort of a side topic, but as we've traveled, we've realized so much of the joy in life is community. You can be in the nicest places in the world and feel alone.
Yeah.
We're relational beings. And so that is our new focus. Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, I felt God say, hey, this social media thing, it's time to pick it up again. And then all your thoughts start churning again. But I feel way less tethered to this performance.
Yeah, the outcomes of it, and actually just able to show up as yourself.
Yeah, and the hardest thing about going back is I don't want to lose that again. I don't want to lose what I've now created in myself, because I'm human. Every time you do get more follows, you naturally have a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
There is this roller coaster you go on. So to counteract that and to create, I guess, boundaries in it, it is creating boundaries, right? Of when I'm looking at my phone, and both you and I have no apps on our phone. So it's like, what is the point of a phone now? But other than to call people. So it means I have to be super intentional with how I consume.
Yeah. And also having so much grace for the reality that you're not going to get it perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if we went back to that season before you stepped into social media again, what are the things that you think prepared you to step into the space with more intentionality and less of your identity tied up into it?
You mean before I even started?
Yeah.
It was that year of uncovering unhelpful patterns, unhelpful protectors. It was really learning to have a lot of compassion for who I am and why I am the way I am. And I think when you can have compassion for your own story, you're able to have compassion for another person's story and the way somebody else is showing up. It doesn't emit the ownership we have over our lives and the powerfulness. I also noticed that as well. It was probably what kept me consistent in Instagram or social media, was that I was powerful and I got a choice to choose in or not.
Yeah.
It was, but it made, when suddenly the audience rapidly grew and the comments I was suddenly getting were horrific. I can't even, it blows my mind to imagine someone saying something like that, but it was really messy. I was able to hold it. Yeah, of course, we blocked people, but there were other people that were just cruel. It wasn't as vile, but it still wasn't nice and it was cruel. And I was able to hold it with this nuance of not excusing the behavior, but having a little bit more grace that it wouldn't fire, like I wouldn't just fire back, right?
Yeah. Well, it's removing your identity from the conversation and going, actually, this probably isn't about me.
Yeah, you have this comment come through and initially your spikes go up and you're like, how dare they? And you feel the injustice and they've misconstrued my intentions and blah, blah, blah. But I was able to just have that little breaker before and be like, oh, this actually isn't about me.
Yeah. Yep.
So that really helped. Just creating my own worth in who God saw me as and what I was in this family really made it. I mean, I don't want to lie, because it was also at times very messy and consuming. And naturally, when someone's going at you on a social, like on your socials, it affects you. I wonder how these huge accounts cope, because we had done so much work in the years prior to this going nutso. I don't know how you still know who you are. It's so easy to get really wrapped up in it, and the inner critic be loud and the comparison be loud. And so in the years, in that particular year that we didn't have anything to do with social media, and we never really had social media accounts, bits and pieces, it was really becoming aware of my body and my needs. We did a lot of somatic work through our trauma and just processing our own stories, which infinitely helped.
Totally. And I would say as well, like, you talked about the negative side of the comments, but the positive side can be just as destructive, because you're looking for that affirmation, that constant, like, oh, I am lovable, I am seen, I am known, I am worthy of like this attention. And it's wild because
you're pinging back and forth. Yeah. So exhausting
and
to your
so
nervous
fast
system
as well.
Yeah, within literally 0.02 scroll. And you're like, oh my gosh, now I'm the enemy. Oh no, everyone loves me. And a big hook for me is this pain of being my intentions being questioned.
Yeah.
And my therapist that I work closely with, she was so good. She's like, it's not about if your intentions are going to be questioned, they just are. It was accepting that if you're in this space, that is the cost of it. That is also a whole nother topic, because I hear people say, oh, well, you're on social media, what do you expect? And it's so fascinating, because I'm still a human who is using a platform to be creative and have fun. And I love to write, and I love to, very emotive. So to have an expression, an outward expression of what's internal, has been profoundly healing and beautiful.
Amazing.
So it's wildly misunderstood. I mean, I've had people say that's the devil's work, me being on social media, and the judgment and the shame and the criticism I have received from often people closest to us has been so confusing.
Absolutely. And again, this is from people who are consuming.
In general,
so
a lot
much.
of them.
Yeah.
I think probably what's hard is there was a lot happening in the secret place that nobody else saw or deserved to know. And maybe sometimes it hurt that people just couldn't trust that I was
doing the work to actually show up authentically
as best as you can in this space. And look, I get how confusing it is. Our whole brand is about presence and connection and adventure and joy and all the other bits of it. But social media tends to be, even though we want to think it's a community, it can be super isolating. It is a cesspit of mess a lot of the time. And how awesome that there are brands out there and people out there contributing to a space that's already very saturated, putting more good and light and beauty into it, isn't that worth it?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Like bringing light and hope into this space, like I've seen that in your heart behind stepping into it initially. Like, yes, you wanted to step in with a rawness and a realness about life, but it wasn't from a woe is me and my life's awful. It was like a life is rough.
I mean, that wasn't my intention. I'm sure sometimes it came across as like...
But it was always trying to come back to a place of like human experience is really challenging and it's really beautiful.
So beautiful. And we're all experiencing it. And I think that was something I maybe didn't expect because we were having cool opportunities and missing out on a ton of being rejected and all the things. I had seen people online have these opportunities and would think, if only I could have that. And you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm having a bad day. I don't feel like being on the camera, or how to be present, and you're getting frustrated at your kids. And it's a real confusing space.
Yeah, or I just can't even enjoy this because I've got to think about how I'm going to photograph this.
I have to have really good boundaries about when I put my phone down. And if you see me, I don't often have my phone. That's unfortunately something that, well, it's fortunate and unfortunate because it makes it really difficult just to, on the fly, be capturing something because I just would rather be there with the kids and not have my phone in them.
So if we jump forward then to that moment at Disneyland where things started going crazy. And you've spent 6 months of consistently...
Well, 8 months, I think.
Or consistently showing up with little change in the numbers, little change in the things. And I just wanted to add to that point, like you've talked about the numbers creating these dopamine spikes. And I remember having a conversation with you around shifting the focus from the number of followers or the number of like the engagement numbers to how many posts have I done?
Yeah.
And each post is another win and celebrating that. And I
That's
love
a good thing to
that
remember.
shift because it took the focus off the external metrics and went, how am I showing up? Yeah, I've done 100 and something posts now. Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I think that's even like we're doing these podcasts. We're going, yeah, cool. We've done 10 episodes now.
We want them to be good and quality, but...
Absolutely. We're going to just show up human as well.
Also, social media prepared me for so many other things in life.
Yes.
Consistency really compounds. And I've seen it now I don't know if I'd ever seen it like that before, of like even just in health choices we make, in, exercise. You do one exercise and you go, nothing's changed, but 20 sessions later, you're like, oh, I feel a bit stronger. I can lift that. I don't hurt so much. And there is a real powerfulness in that. And you're right. I think even going forward, looking at how am I showing up for me and our family, and that being the measure of success.
Yeah. And even you've talked about like showing up in that space and being present in that space, but actually the 3 people you want to be most present with is me and the girls.
And that is the hardest place to be most present and most connected with, because it's most costly. And costly because it requires energy, it requires emotional headspace, it requires showing up really well, it requires a lot of grace and compassion when we don't show up so well. I haven't always done that great. And these last few months have really heightened my awareness around how do I want to actually live my life, because social media has to be just the overflow of my actual life.
Yeah.
And I have a high value for authenticity. I have had people say to me, oh, you're different online, or you're different in real life.
It's just a highlight reel that you're showing up with, or...
Yeah, like, and it's interesting because my definition of who I am changes in terms of course I show up a little differently online. It's a part of me still. It's a version of me, as is how I show up with you and how I show up with the kids. That's still me, but I look a little different. And I think celebrating the different sides of me has also been part of this win. Knowing that it is my work. It is a job. I also don't think it's a highlight reel. It's just the version that I allow people to see.
Yes.
A lot of our stories are authentic, real things that are happening in our life, but it's not quick whip out the camera while my child's having a meltdown. That deserves to be dealt with in private. And, that's a whole nother topic of how we navigate family life and honor our kids and protect our kids and us. And that has also been questioned. I don't want to talk about having kids on social media on this podcast, but it hasn't gone without a lot of intentionality.
And continued intentionality, not a set and forget. It's we bring this up consistently.
Yes. And so what happens in the secret place, in what we take to Jesus and what we feel like God's saying and what you and I agree is what matters. My grid for what other people think, and it is a balance, right? Because we want to be wise and we want to listen to people, but we found ourselves in this super fairly isolating place with a lot of judgment and opinions around it, that we've really had to come back and be like, okay, what do we actually believe about this? And that's what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if that's true. I would say it's more just blocking out the noise and the fear.
Yeah.
And looking for truth in it.
Yeah.
And our feelings and thoughts on the matter and how we're processing it would not make a lot of sense to a lot of people, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I've had to just accept that people may not understand the decisions or approve of the decisions we're making. That has felt so tough to not have the approval of people I really love, but feel really led to step out into.
Yeah.
Even coming back on social media, by the time this podcast goes live, I'll probably be back on it, but that's not a light decision. It would be easier not to post and not to show up in a space that evokes so much criticism and judgment. It would be so much easier. And I envision myself hiding in my bed with the covers over and thinking, okay, do I want to do this? But actually, when I'm really calm and regulated, I feel so much excitement about it.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of it, is it's so easy to get wrapped up in the negative aspects of social media, which is so there, and forget the incredible beauty of it. And I think that's something that has blown me away watching you in this space, because it's trained yours and I would say mine to an extent as well, our eyes to look for beauty.
Yes.
To look for not just a shot for content's sake, but actually, wow, I can really appreciate that. And I think that's come hand in hand with doing a lot of our own somatic work and working through how our bodies process things. But like that, highlighting continually the beauty around us is stunning.
Why would you not want more of that in your life?
Oh, man. And then the other thing that's totally surprised me about it has been the community that you've curated over the last few years. And it's stunning. Like, you'll come and talk to me about these conversations that you're having with people, whether via messaging back and forth or voice messaging back and forth or comments. And it's people who are so seen and felt known, and you've been able to show up in this grace and love and kindness, and it's stunning.
I just love sitting in this space, and I feel emotional thinking about the people all over the world that have invited me into their vulnerable story, and who I've been able to voice memo on the other side of the world and be like, I see you, you're doing a great job, like, keep going. My heart is for community to feel seen and known, even in the small little bits. And what an honor. It blows me away. Yeah, cool opportunities and yeah, and a bit like we talked about, it's the work side of it, but it is such a blip in the connections we've made around the world, and even fleshing out our own thoughts on things. I think I did want to say on this session, this episode as well, of just how much I've realized and had grace and compassion for us to change our opinions on things. I think when you're showing up in social media, what you say then becomes like gospel. That's what they believe. I want to stay so humble in this place that I can grow and learn, because that is human as well.
Yes.
That I might have opinions about things that I'm going to maybe change my mind on.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's human experience.
And we want to be challenging what we believe.
100%. I mean, that's humility.
Yeah. So I guess I caveat that in there of like, we might show up a certain way, and we might, say this thing and then later be like, actually, no, don't think that anymore. And that's also okay. I think having the conversation is what's important.
Yeah.
And creating safe spaces for other people to have the conversation. I've had many, many discussions in my DMs with someone who completely disagreed with something I was saying or talking about. And I was able to listen to them and understand. And there were times that I was like, yeah, you're actually right. So sorry. Take the ownership. I got that wrong.
Yeah.
We're held to this high standard. I understand there is influence with bigger platforms. And I'm human.
I think that shift in you from showing up in the space, and despite having pretty good identity boundaries around it, there being a sense of abandoning yourself to the needs of others and shifting towards actually, one of my highest values is not abandoning myself. And so that comes with, okay, I can show up humbly and honestly and care for my heart and care for myself within a space where there's going to be disagreement and where there's going to be support and all sorts of different things coming at you.
This feeling of no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay because I've got me.
Yeah.
And God's got me. But this awareness of being able to process through anything that comes from this space.
Yeah.
Even just the bravery of pitching and putting yourself out there and constantly being rejected, how that internal dialogue has shifted from there must be something wrong with me to it's not the right timing right now, or just changing subtle beliefs. I am forever thankful for social media because it has taken me on a journey with, like, the reality is most of the things I've struggled with on social media were already existing in my life. It's just highlighted them and made the process of churning through and figuring it out a lot faster and probably more public.
Yeah.
With a ton of other opinions and people's judgments. But it has forced me to really dig deep and get very clear on my why. And that has brought in a confidence in what I'm talking about and a confidence in how I show up, messily, imperfectly, but there's now a confidence in that. There's this realization of success in this space is not about getting it right and not about getting it perfect. It is about showing up. It's being consistent and it's loving yourself and loving the people around you.
Excited to see how your content shifts and grows and the shift in community and even the work that you're doing, and excited for the impact that has on us as a family as well.
Yeah, it's a constant working out. But if you don't follow us over on social media, we're on Instagram mostly, the whole of us.
Facebook, TikTok, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we really haven't branched out much. So I'm excited for this year to see what happens. We have big plans.
I'm also really excited. You can stop me if you don't want me to plug this, but your ability to sit with people in this space who are navigating the complexities of social media, whether from a consumption perspective or particularly from a content creation perspective, is stunning. Like, the conversations that you've had with other creators and helping them navigate their process, navigate the identity that is wrapped up in it and the complexities of that.
Yeah.
It's
actually, it's funny you say that because I have a real heart for people in this space.
Yeah.
It can be so messy and all consuming.
Yeah.
And as someone who's walked it out and, it's a constant as we talk about
back and forth.
Yeah, it would be great to talk to those sorts of people.
So if you hop on over to thewholeofus.com, you can find a link for life consulting with Kels there.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you love this episode, please share it with a friend, another content creator or somebody who just got an interest in social media, whether that's big judgments or whether that's a genuine love for it.
Well, and I was just thinking, I'd love to know if it's changed your opinion a little bit on creators on the social media space.
Totally.
And of course, there's so much stuff we haven't talked about on this episode.
Oh, man.
So throw in questions if you'd like to know more about something, and we'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.